Ah, look at you. Confused, aren't you? Trying to make sense of something the world swears shouldn't make sense. They say love has rules, limits, a proper timeline, as if hearts come with expiration dates or user manuals. They see an age gap and suddenly everyone becomes a philosopher, a judge, a moral police squad. Funny how people who can't manage their own emotions think they're qualified to measure someone else's love eye, timelines and expectations. Humanity's favorite cage. They love to pretend connection follows some neat little recipe. Same age, same phase, same chapter, same path. They cling to their precious rules like children clutching a broken toy, terrified someone might show them a different way. But connection, real connection, it has never once cared about the clock. It arrives when it wants, not when the world says it should. It chooses souls, not schedules. And oh, isn't that what drives everyone mad? That two people can find each other outside the carefully drawn lines. And suddenly every busybody with nothing extraordinary in their own life becomes an expert on your funny thing. People talk about maturity like it's welded to a birth year. They think age magically grants wisdom, experience guarantees depth, and youth automatically means naivety. Yet look around. You'll see old minds trapped in young bodies, and youthful sparks glowing in those with more years behind them than ahead. Time may age the body, but it doesn't decide the soul's temperature. Some hearts stay burning, no matter how many winters pass. Some minds stay curious long after society expects them to quiet down and shrink into routine. And sometimes, that kind of flame attracts someone who isn't the same age, but recognizes the heat and, oh, how shocked the world becomes. This isn't normal. They say that as if normality has ever birthed greatness. The same people who preach, be yourself, panic when you actually do it. They talk about true love, soulmates, destinies, signs, until those signs point somewhere unconventional. Then suddenly, they call it strange, risky, wrong. The truth. They only support love when it fits their little checklist. Anything outside it forces them to confront the limits of their own imagination, but connection isn't a math problem. It's chemistry. It's instinct. It's two minds colliding at just the right moment. Two spirits sensing because the universe, or fate or chaos, or whatever you want to call it, decided to have a little fun. You don't choose when or how or who. You simply feel it. And if you're brave enough, you honor it. Meanwhile, the critics, they drown in their own fear, terrified that someone lived boldly where they only followed rules age, gap love. Two consenting adults choosing each other isn't the scandal they think it is. It's the mirror, the reflection that asks, have you ever felt something real enough to defy expectation? Most haven't. Most trade passion for permission. They romance approval, not people. They marry timing, not love. They hide behind society like it's a safety net, never realizing it's a cage. And when they see someone break out of that cage, oh, it rattles them. Because freedom always offends the imprisoned. Think about it. Why is it that when two people fit each other's minds, hearts, intentions, dreams, suddenly strangers want proof, justification, explanation, as if love needs a license stamped by public opinion. As if the world isn't full of relationships built on convenience, boredom, and fear disguised as stability. They don't question those. They don't interrogate the lukewarm, the predictable, the passionless. But they swarm like hornets the moment something genuine appears. Where they didn't expect it, you know what that tells you. They aren't protecting morality. They're protecting mediocrity. Because when love dares to step outside the lines, it exposes how small their world truly is. So here you are, standing where many fear to stand, choosing connection over convention, meaning over mathematics. And the world stares, scratching its head, whispering, judging, hoping you'll break, because if you thrive, if your bond grows, if your love stands strong, then their excuses collapse, their comfort shatters, their narrative crumbles, and oh, people hate when the truth ruins their favorite lies. They hate being reminded that real connection doesn't knock politely and wait for permission. It kicks the door, walks in, and sits down with a smirk. You didn't choose the timing. You didn't choose the difference. You chose the Ev person. And that frightens them. Because deep down, they know the only thing separating you from them isn't age, or timing, or fate, it's courage. The courage to feel instead of conform. The courage to love instead of obey. The courage to say, my heart decides, not the calendar, not the crowd. So here we are again, in this little theater of emotions, where everyone pretends to be wise, moral, sensible. They talk like they've figured out the universe, while they can't even figure out their own hearts. Funny thing, isn't it? Society screams. Age matters. But look a little closer and you'll see. What they really mean is, we're afraid of anything that doesn't fit neatly into our tiny little boxes. They love rules because rules make them feel safe, comfortable, predictable, like fragile children clinging to their toys in the dark. But love was never meant for cages. It doesn't check IDs. It doesn't count candles on a cake. It doesn't take attendance in the classroom of approval. It simply happens. Wild, unplanned, inconvenient for the world, but undeniable to the soul. You think this person looked at you and measured years. You think they stood there calculating the gap, weighing judgment like some accountant of the heart. No. They looked at you and saw something rare. Someone who lit a part of them they thought was gone. Someone who made them feel alive again. You don't throw that away because society wrinkles its nose. You don't walk from someone who loves you with depth just because others love with calendars and clocks. They didn't choose you out of rebellion, but out of recognition. You were not a risk. You were a revelation. And age. Well, that was just a number that scared everyone else, not them. They didn't fear what the world whispered. They feared a life where you never existed in theirs. Imagine that, someone choosing the chaos of love over the comfort of conformity. Terrifying, isn't it? Because it means love is still dangerous, wild, real. And I know, your mind plays tricks. What if they regret it later? What if I'm not enough? What if they only think they love me, That ugly little voice whispers doubt like poison. But tell me this, when has fear ever led anyone to something worth remembering? The safe path is paved with regrets, and the bold one, well, that's where legends are born. They weren't scared of what people might say. They weren't scared of time. They were scared of missing the chance to feel something true in a world drowning in fake emotions and staged affection. They saw the emptiness of normal love, the kind that looks perfect on paper but dies quietly in routine. They wanted fire, not lukewarm comfort. They chose connection over convention, heart over habit. And the world will gossip, of course. They always do. People hate what they don't understand. They envy those who dare to feel deeply, because deep feeling requires courage. A currency most don't have. They'll laugh, criticize, whisper behind backs like petty little clowns, pretending they sit on thrones of judgment. But while they entertain themselves with opinions, someone out there chose you when they could have chosen ordinary. Someone said, I don't care who disapproves. This is my heart, my life, my choice. And choices like that aren't weak. They're not accidents. They're acts of bravery disguised as love. Age difference. Ha! The world panics about years because it doesn't understand souls. A soul doesn't age. A heart doesn't wrinkle. Passion doesn't follow the calendar. What scares them isn't age, it's authenticity. Because when someone loves you like that, unapologetically, fiercely, deliberately, it exposes how shallow most connections really are. It shows them what they're missing. And nothing terrifies people more than a mirror that reflects the truth they avoid. So don't question why they love you. Don't shrink yourself to fit the world's tiny expectations. Don't let fear cheapen something rare. They aren't there because they want your youth or your energy or your image. They are there because somewhere, somehow, you awakened a part of them time had tried to bury. They didn't fear your age. They feared a life untouched by what you made them feel. And that kind of love doesn't bow to numbers or rules or public opinion. It stands, quiet, certain, untamed. Isn't it amusing how quickly people turn into experts on things they've never felt? They look at your connection, tilt their heads like confused little birds, and suddenly they've got opinions, theories, warnings. Oh, they love warnings. It won't last. It isn't right. You're being manipulated. They whisper like they're prophets, but really they're just scared. Scared of what you ask, of you, of them. No. Scared of the one thing they hope no one sees. How empty their own lives feel in comparison. You have something they don't understand, and instead of learning, they hide behind criticism. Classic human behavior. Fear disguised as moral wisdom. They can't comprehend a bond that doesn't fit their formula, same age, same stage, same safe little storyline. They want love to be simple, neat, predictable like a cheap romance script with no plot twists. But you too, you broke the script. You didn't follow the lines society handed out. You improvised. You felt something real in a world drowning in filters, ego, and emotional fast food. That terrifies them. Real things always do. Fake things they understand. Fake confidence, fake relationships, fake loyalty. But when they see a connection that stretches across the borders of age and expectation, they suddenly panic. Like someone turned on a light in a room they preferred dark. People don't attack what they don't care about. They attack what makes them uncomfortable. Your bond unsettles them because it reminds them of their own limitations, their own timid choices, their own love that was more about convenience than conviction. They don't see your story. They see their regrets reflected in it. They hate that you dared to feel something they never found the courage to. So they mask their envy with judgment, hoping you'll doubt what they can't understand. Hoping you'll crumble so they can breathe easy again, safe inside their tiny cage of normal. And let's talk about that word, normal. What a strange little cage it is. People cling to it like a child clutching a blanket, terrified of stepping outside. But who set that standard? Who decided love has a schedule? Who carved into stone the idea that hearts must be the same age to beat in sync? No one. It's all invented. An illusion, repeated so often that people forgot to question it. And now someone like you comes along, daring to break the spell, daring to follow emotion instead of tradition, and they lose their minds. Because deep down, they suspect you might be right. And nothing scares a crowd more than someone who proves the rules were never real. They'll say they're concerned for you. Isn't that adorable? People who can't manage their own happiness suddenly become guardians of yours. They'll call it advice, but it's fear preaching through borrowed wisdom. They fear complexity. They fear depth. They fear love that demands courage. They fear that maybe, just maybe, the real thing looks less like their expectations and more like your messy, beautiful, unexpected connection. They fear being proven small. So they choose mockery instead of understanding. They choose doubt over curiosity. They choose distance over vulnerability. Easier to judge than feel, isn't it? Let them talk. Let them analyze, gossip, wrinkle their brows in confusion. You don't owe them comprehension. Your bond isn't a public exhibit for their comfort. It's a rebellion against shallow hearts and frightened minds. And rebellion always frightens the obedient. They don't need to understand it. They never will. Because love like this isn't for everyone. Only for those bold enough to listen to their heart instead of the crowd. And crowds, well, crowds never lead, they only follow. But you didn't follow. You chose a path they didn't dare step on. The kind carved by feeling, not approval. Let them fear it. Fear is just a sign that you're walking where only a rare few ever go. Funny thing about time, people treat it like an enemy, like a thief sneaking around stealing beauty, passion fire. They panic as clocks move, terrified of wrinkles, birthdays, and whatever comes after, youth. They think love expires like milk in a fridge. They believe feelings fade because they've only ever seen the cheap kind. The kind built on excitement, not depth. But when love is real, time doesn't erode it. Time tests it, refines it, sharpens the edges until all that remains is truth. Real love doesn't wear down. It gets harder stronger, more dangerous to the world that never believed in it. Most people only know love that starts loud and dies quietly. Infatuation, hormones, convenience, fireworks that sparkle for a second, then turn to smoke. They mistake noise for depth. They think the first rush is the whole story. So when they see two souls holding on to each other through years, through doubts, through whispers, through storms, they panic. How is it still alive? They wonder. Why didn't time kill it like it killed mine? Because theirs wasn't love. It was a distraction, a band-aid, a temporary performance wrapped in pretty lies. But yours was carved with patience and pain and choice. And that's the secret no one likes to admit. Real love isn't a spark, it's a forge. Time doesn't silence it. Time forces you to prove it. And oh, that proof makes people uncomfortable. They love beginnings because beginnings are easy. Everyone looks perfect at the start. Everyone promises forever when tomorrow hasn't arrived yet. But when time enters the room, masks fall off. You see who stands steady and who runs, who grows and who rots, who fights and who folds. If love survives that, it becomes something frightening, too real, too powerful, too rare for casual hearts to comprehend. People think age difference weakens love. They say one will outgrow, one will fall behind, one will change faster. But that's the thing. Everyone changes. No two humans stay aligned by accident. Love isn't about matching ages. It's about choosing each other again and again, even as life reshapes you both. Time demands growth, and real love grows with it. Where others drift apart, you too adapt. Where others decay, you sharpen. What they call a gap is your advantage. One brings wisdom, one brings fire, both bring devotion. Instead of two clocks ticking in sync, you are two rhythms that learn to dance. They say time kills passion. They say age cools desire. They say love fades like an old photograph in a dusty drawer. But have you noticed? People who say that are always the ones who gave up first. They're the ones who settled. They're the ones who mistook routine for love and boredom for peace. Their stories died, so they assume yours will too. Misery loves company, but so does mediocrity. They expect your flame to dim, because theirs never burned in the first place. Yet here you stand, still drawn, still connected, still unable to let go even when logic and fear tried to pry your fingers apart. Time only threatens relationships built on illusion. But when love is forged in truth, truth that scares you, truth that breaks you, truth that rebuilds you, time becomes your ally. It gives you layers, depth, a history stitched with moments both beautiful and brutal. Time makes secrets, inside jokes, scars that belong to only two people in the whole world. It makes longing deeper, trust heavier, silence more comfortable than most people's conversations. It sharpens love into something unbreakable, not because it's perfect, but because it survived. So let them worry about clocks. Let them fear candles on cakes and numbers on screens. They measure time in years. You measure it in memories. They track aging. You track evolution. They count days. You count reasons you still choose each other. Time didn't weaken you. It stripped everything false away and left only what was real. And what's real, well, that's what terrifies them most, because they see what you have and realize time never betrayed them. They simply never had anything strong enough to survive it. Have you ever noticed how people suddenly become experts the moment they don't like something you have? They can't understand your connection, so they call it strange. They can't grasp your loyalty, so they label it obsession. They can't swallow the depth of your bond, so they twist it into a scandal. It's hilarious in a tragic way. The world hates what it can't categorize, fears what it can't control, mocks what it secretly envies. And your love, oh, it doesn't fit in any of their little boxes. It doesn't follow their timelines, their rules, their logic. So of course they fear it. They fear it because it exposes their lack. They fear it because it reminds them they've never felt anything powerful enough to defy judgment, distance, whispers, doubt. Time itself. People prefer things that are easy to explain. Same age, same background, same story, same expectations. They love neat symmetry. Safe, predictable, small. But you chose a path that wasn't symmetrical, wasn't predictable, wasn't safe. You chose someone not because the world clapped for you, but because your soul recognized something it couldn't walk away from. And that scares them. Not you, them. They fear what your love represents: freedom. The freedom to choose heart over crowd, intuition over approval, destiny over comfort. You didn't bend to the script they worship, and now their fragile beliefs rattle like cheap glass in a storm. They'll say you're confused. They'll say you're misguided. They'll say you'll regret it. Not because they care, but because your conviction threatens their excuses. Your courage exposes their cowardice. Your loyalty reveals their patterns of quitting. They've only known love that fits conditions, quotas, social perks. They've traded affection like currency, choosing partners like outfits, based on trend, not truth. So, when they see two souls holding on to each other despite every reason to walk away, it shakes something inside them. It forces them to confront a thought they've buried. Maybe they never really loved at all. They don't fear the age difference. They fear the strength that came with it. They fear the maturity that built understanding instead of insecurity. They fear the wisdom that softened pride instead of feeding ego. They fear that someone older saw your worth long before someone your age was wise enough to recognize it. They fear that someone younger gave a fire and purity that someone older had forgotten how to feel. They don't fear the years. They fear the bond that outgrew them. So they gossip, they whisper, they laugh in groups, because alone they'd have to face the hollowness in their own chests. They warn you about heartbreak, while hiding their own heartbreak inside forced smiles and convenient relationships. They pretend to mock you while secretly imagining what it feels like to be chosen with that kind of intensity. Their fear wears many masks: judgment, sarcasm, criticism. But beneath them all beats the same truth. They wish they had something they believed in as fiercely as you believe in each other. Let them talk. Let them assume, predict, judge. desperately try to convince themselves that your love is doomed simply because theirs never survived long enough to be tested. Let them misunderstand. Understanding was never their role. They weren't meant to feel it, only to witness it. Some people are placed in the audience so they can watch what courage looks like. Your connection threatens their comfort zones because it defies logic, expectations, and timelines. And anything that defies norms becomes a target for small minds. They fear you because you didn't choose love that made sense. You chose love that made you alive. And the irony, the louder they object, the more it proves how deeply your connection unnerves them. If it was weak, they wouldn't care. If it was temporary, they'd just wait it out. But they feel it, the weight of it, the truth of it, the inevitability of it. People don't fight what doesn't matter. They fight what threatens their illusion of how life is supposed to go. You didn't follow their map. You burned it and made your own path. And nothing scares the world more than someone who refuses to ask permission to feel something real